Hello? Oh, ho, 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 ho.
Oh, what was that? Skeleton assassin?
Skeleton swordsman. 300 armor, 300 health. Is there any loot, like, just on the entrance so we can
You
grab
just go
and
sneak in, grab some loot, and go home. Greedy go. Oh no! Oh no! Run!
Run!
Run! Oh, I'm stuck in a coffin. No! No! Oh! Run! Go! Exit! Exit! Go! Leave! 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 Run away! Brave, brave Sir Robin, he ran away. Shenanigans back again, and welcome to my new series, MMOMG. It's where I take a look at an MMO of some type for a month, and week by week, just kind of give you an update, my thoughts and experiences of the game of the month. So we're kicking things off with Project Gorgon. This is an MMORPG with, I'd say, a very old school vibe. It has a lot of nods to D&D and classic MMOs and MUDs. You'll notice early on and throughout the video that the quality of the game, I have it on a slightly lower setting, but you'll notice that it has kind of an old school and you might even say almost outdated quality. And keep in mind that this is a project that's currently in like playtesting, like an alpha phase. It's currently free to play in that phase. It will go buy to play later, but the game is only developed by 2 people. And as you can see, there's some fairly limited character creation options, but really, graphically speaking right now, I think a lot of that is forgivable at this point. So immediately after character creation, you're attacked, and I mean immediately. You can see in the footage here, you're captured by a trio of crones. You then awake stranded on an island with a heavy case of amnesia. Now, I'm sure you've seen that before, and I've seen that in other games before. It's kind of cliche. However, the story actually makes good use of it with a couple of interesting twists as you begin to piece together what's actually going on. So this game, being an MMORPG, is less focused on classes. You don't have a character class that you would have to pick. Instead, it is a skill-based character progression where you want to get better at a certain skill, well, then you have to use that skill over and over. The pro to that, of course, is flexibility, in that you can mix and match some of the different skills. The con that I've noticed already is that it is kind of grindy past level 10 in any given skill. It feels like it takes a little bit longer once you hit around 9 or 10 to start really ranking those skills up. You'll notice the combat bars at the bottom. You're allowed 2 different combat skill trees, or I'm not exactly sure, categories, you may want to call them, 1 for each bar, and you're limited to a small number there of available abilities within that category. Understand that equipment can also restrict this somewhat. For example, if you wanted to use fire magic, you have to have a staff equipped, but obviously if you want to use sword skills, you have to have a sword equipped, and they both require equipping their respective weapon in the main hand. As for questing and exploring the game, there are a lot of small details and very little hand-holding. You'll notice early on that there's clickables kind of throughout the map, but they don't make them very obvious. This, of course, can be frustrating or relaxing, kind of depending upon your mood and schedule. If you're pressed for time, obviously you kind of want to know where the quest mobs are that you need to go kill and just get it done. But if you're in a more relaxed mood, you have some more free time, then you'll find that this allows you to just kind of roam around and explore. Descriptive text offered by NPCs and other various items throughout the game will give you subtle hints on how to finish certain quests, and otherwise without those hints you may have a much harder time trying to understand how to progress. So if you hate reading quest and lore text, Project Gorgon may not be the game for you. As for the map system, it's very simplistic. When it comes to the main zones in the game, you get the entire map, but there's nothing marked. And of course you can add, remove, and edit pins on that map as you so desire and mark them as you wish. I found that simple and intuitive. However, I do have one big complaint, and that is you're allowed a limit per map of 5 pins. Bosses, you'll see, are few and far between, but they can be very dangerous. Bosses typically have an ability that can curse you with some kind of permanent effect, and that will persist even after your character dies and you respawn. The only way to remove these type of curses are to defeat the boss that cursed you in the first place. So That's a very interesting type of mechanic, and it really makes bosses very impactful. After about a day and a half on the starter island, say 4 or 5 hours, I finally had everything situated and felt I was ready to progress into the game proper. Once I made my way off the starter island, I get dropped into the mainland, the zone being called Sebule, I think it's what it's called. And at this point, you could explore wherever you really wanted to, but your character is incredibly weak at this point. The chance of survival is probably very low. Conveniently, of course, the town of Sebule Keep serves as a base of operations where you can improve your character by helping the locals, which kind of brings in the aspect of favor. Now, you're probably familiar with games that have a reputation system or a faction system. This is even more broken down, and it's done per individual NPC. And so your weapons merchant has a favor score. The innkeeper has a favor score. And you might find that to be very daunting at first, but if you think of single-player RPGs, this seems to be the case in a lot of single-player role-playing games. So if you bring that mentality to the table and realize that, it's going to be a little bit of a longer journey getting the favor scores of all these various NPCs up, then you'll probably have a much better time at it. Also, something of note, especially after you leave the starter island, is the food system. Now, a recent patch, as I understand, included an overhaul to hunger and cooking, and it now encourages you to stay fed, especially when adventuring, because your resource bars, they regenerate very slowly without some kind of a well-fed type of buff. Thankfully, cooking is relatively inexpensive to get started in, and early on, just outside of Sebule Keep, you can just swim in the moat and catch fish, and then bring them back and cook those with very little investment in time and money, little effort as well. So that's a way to kind of get things started for your character. Stay fed when you go adventuring. New players can easily die to mobs that are pulled by nearby players if they kite them in your direction. It's kind of funny. It makes for an interesting experience, both in the wild, in dungeons, and sometimes even in town. Thankfully, death, however, is more of an annoyance than really a penalty, and dying itself is actually a skill that gains XP and will provide you with long-term benefits later. Talking about mobs, when you attack a mob, you have to watch out about what's in the general vicinity, because they often call out for help to nearby mobs of a similar type. So if you attack a pig, nearby pigs may decide to join in the fight. This can make solo play a lot more challenging. You'll find early on it's better to either pick on the lone stragglers or to group up with others. Speaking of grouping, the grouping and trade system encourages players to be social to those around them, which I think is really great. Personally speaking, so far, I've been using psychology as my primary combat skill, and then I switch off between fire magic, sword, or archery, kind of as the situation depends. I'm roughly about level 10 on each of those, somewhere between 7 and 11. That, of course, is just a fancy way of saying I really haven't decided upon my combat skills yet. Two of my friends that are also playing the game are both pretty happy with unarmed combat, which seems really useful, especially if you're willing to learn the meditation techniques which are offered throughout the various areas in the game. That's something I haven't really decided to fiddle with yet, so I've left unarmed relatively alone for now. By the end of the first week, about 15 hours in, I'm still not really comfortable with leaving the zone of Sebule. I have a handful of quests that lead me to Eltabule, though I've been warned that it's for more experienced players. Hopefully I should be able to remedy that next week and see what else, of course, Project Gorgon has to offer. So as this is the first episode of MMOMG, I'm still kind of feeling around how the format of the video should be. Feel free to leave suggestions or comments on both the format as well as the game itself. You're also welcome to suggest games to feature here in the coming months. Of course, the rest of this month we will focus on Project Gorgon, and we'll see where things go from there. I'm interested in the game, and I think I'll enjoy the next several weeks with it. I thank you so much for watching. Remember, if you want to see this played live, I stream it every night at 8 p.m. Eastern over at my Twitch channel. That's twitch.tv/shenanigans1930. Be sure to come check it out. We're having a lot of fun. Also, I think I'll try to end every episode with some kind of an entertaining clip of what happened during the week. Hope you enjoy, and I'll see you guys soon. Oh, there's the big spider. I found it. I found the big spider.
Okay.
He's looking at me, Ray.
Hang on,
Nope.
I'll tell him about his mom.
Oh, here it goes. Oh,
Told him about
Let's
his mom.
go.
It worked.
Let's go. Got to go.
Oh, hello.
Oh, this guy's rounding him up. Wait till he sees the boss.
Ah!
Run! Sorry. Sorry, spider. Oh, I can't go in there.
The mega spider's following me.
Run! Run! You fool, run! Well, now that we've pulled the dungeon.
I'm the paladin, man.